The Red Horse's champion is Kenneth Cardus.
From 1600 onwards, this has been called the Vale of Red Horse, from about here up to Stratford-on-Avon. It was a most wonderful work of art, the biggest Saxon work of art in England, of course. And it was a religious work of art. This is a holy place. This is where they worshipped the Saxon god Tiw, the god of victory, the god who gave them victory in war, and naturally gave them land, and then looked after their crops.
Beneath this landscape, the Red Horse now lies hidden. But Cardus believes it re-emerged in this photograph in which he discerned an outline. An old parish map confirmed the discovery. It pinpointed the location of the Red Horse on the ridge above Tysoe, where the photograph was taken. The following year, Kenneth Cardus took this aerial picture of the horse. When enhanced, a stylized creature emerges.
These are covered, literally covered for many, many miles with geoglyphs or hieroglyphs or glyphs writing on the sides of the sand. These geoglyphs were originally thought to be Chinese characters in the first journals that recorded them. They were mysterious signs. Some people argued they were tracks of mules. Some other people, when they began to see that there was a definition, as explorers pushed farther back into the valleys, they realized that there was a zoo of the Atacama. Animals, pumas, jaguars, tigers, llama trains, reptiles, dogs, a series of stylized men. All these immense figures were soon discovered as the Spaniards moved across the Atacama and down into the colonization of Chile. That was our first objective, to enter those valleys, to climb and scale the mountains of sand, to see the geoglyphs of the Atacama.
These rocks were all carried.
How many rocks they put in?
From all through the valley, down in, many of them came through the river when the spring floods bring the waters, melting waters off the Andes. These rocks slowly came down, and over the years, they've been carried up here, collected, placed in this very sophisticated art form. Let's head on up toward the top part here.
As we investigated and explored the animals and the symbols and the geometric designs, always we were asking about the giants and the large men that we had heard of farther on in the desert. And always these symbols in the edges of the Great Desert were trying to tell a story. I felt they were panels that represented stories of ancient battles, of ancient warriors, of ancient caravans. But farther on in the desert, we kept hearing the giants. You'll find the giants. We drove 250 miles due south to the region of Tarapacá, where this legendary mountain and really legendary giant was reported to lie. We found Cerro Unitas, and I was astonished when we, about 5 miles from the hill, I saw Nazca-type runways. We pressed on and got to the base of the runways and began a climb around the edge of the largest ridge on this solitary mountain. And as we climbed the ridge and came to the crest, I looked across a saddle in the mountain, and there we could make out the first faint outlines of a giant. The mammoth size of the giant ran over the crest of the mountain, so it's impossible on the ground to get the full scope of a giant. In fact, had we not known he was a giant, there was no way of telling really what we were exploring. We were disappointed with the giant on the ground. The head and crown area was so confusing, we could only spot the large piles of rocks that were the giant's eye. At that point, I made the decision it was to appreciate it, and to even get our measurements straight, it would be necessary to fly. plexiglass ahead, I could see Cerro Unitas, the lone mountain. And as we flew closer, I had the helicopter slow, and the view of the giant that began to come into view was incredible. Here, the disorganized form that we had seen close up as we explored the mountain the day before suddenly became finely engraved on the mountain ahead. And as we flew closer, I began to realize the tremendous size of the giant, for the feet and the crown and the rays and the arm with the arrow all became sharply in focus.
Looking toward us in the sky was the largest man that ancient man ever created. It was an exciting moment as the helicopter descended to 750 feet. I stopped, I took out my still camera, I began to photograph that drawing. And as you hang there in the air, looking down into this face that stared skyward for 1,000 years, you realize that this drawing was made by ancient people to be seen from the air, either by the gods or by someone with the power of flight.
There are many questions about these wonderful drawings which, frankly, I can't begin to answer. Who made them? What are they? Above all, who was meant to see them? Perhaps we need look no further than man's desire for immortality, his urge to leave some abiding mark on the face of his planet.
On Discovery Next tonight, the professional world of the pyrotechnician, professionals who play with fire.